In this video, I will explain step by step how to use the SEO Generator in your website. Please refer to our manual how to install the plugin in your website, as I will not cover this in this video. The SEO Generator comes with an example page already installed. Let's take a look at this example page to get familiar with the settings and how the plugin works. You can find the draft with the somewhat cryptic title, the best search term in location, with square brackets in the title. Let's edit this draft to take a closer look at the settings the SEO Generator has to offer. You are greeted with a number of fields, which I will go over briefly. The goal of the SEO Generator is to generate a lot of landing pages based on the combination of search terms and locations. For each unique combination of search term and location, the plugin will generate a unique landing page. In our example, we will create a large number of landing pages for a hair salon. The search terms are the terms you want your website to be found on in Google. In our example, these search terms can be hairdresser, stylist, barber, and so on. You can combine these search terms with locations to create unique combinations of search terms and locations. Usually, you will select a number of locations around you. In our example, we have added a number of locations from around the world, like Aberdeen, Airway Heights, Albany, and so on. As you might have noticed, you can use a single and plural form of search terms, and locations too, if you would like. We will get back to that later. The search terms combined with locations create unique URLs based on the slug, which you can find here. Please note the square brackets around search term and location. These are called shortcodes and allow us to replace the shortcodes with the actual values you entered in these fields below. The slug can basically be anything you want, as you are probably familiar with WordPress posts and pages already. Just with the exception that the use of our shortcodes with the square brackets. These are mandatory to create the unique URLs. You can create as many SEO pages with unique combinations of search terms and locations as you want. We group the generated URLs together by the so-called SEO page base, which you can find here. You can think of the SEO page base as a category. Let's tie this all together now. In our example, we have 8 search terms, hairdresser, stylist, barber, and so on, and we have combined these with 271 locations, Aberdeen, Airway Heights, Albany, and so on. 8 times 271 equals 2168 unique URLs generated. For each combination of search term and location, the SEO Generator creates a unique URL. The first 20 URLs are listed below. As you can see, we have a URL for hairdresser in Aberdeen, hairdresser in Airway Heights, hairdresser in Albany, and so on. For each location, we have one page for the search term hairdresser, just as we have one page for each location combined with stylist, and for each location combined with barber, and so on. The URLs you see all start with the SEO page base, followed by the slug, where the shortcodes for each search term and location are replaced. Hairdressers search term in location becomes hairdresser in Aberdeen. This brings us to the content of the page. You can use the shortcodes in the text to write one smart text for all 2100 pages. Having to write only one text for over 2100 pages will obviously save you a lot of time. As you can see, we use both shortcodes of search term and location multiple times in the text. You can use these shortcodes in headings, paragraphs, bullet points, and wherever you want basically. These will all be replaced later on for the actual search terms and locations you entered in the fields above. Let's circle back to the single and plural form of the search terms and locations we skipped earlier. When you enter the search terms, you can separate the single and plural form with a pipe character. This gives you more creative freedom when writing a text. You can see we have hairdresser and hairdressers, stylist and stylists, barber and barbers. Plural form is completely optional. If a search term does not have a plural form, the plugin will fall back to the single form. We have different shortcodes for the single and plural forms. Search term and search terms, and both are in square brackets. You can also use location and locations. The locations is not used in this example. Before we can look at how this creates all the pages, we first need to publish this example page the SEO Generator created for us when we installed the plugin. So let's publish the page now. Now we can take a look at the first URL that is created by the plugin for hairdresser in Aberdeen. Hairdresser in Aberdeen. Let's scroll back as I accidentally scrolled the locations. Now we can take a look at the first URL that is created by the plugin for hairdresser in Aberdeen. Let's click it now. As you can see, the shortcodes are replaced by the actual values. The search terms are replaced by hairdresser or hairdressers, depending on the single or plural form of our shortcode. The location shortcodes are replaced by the location, as we can see the word Aberdeen in multiple locations throughout the text. When we scroll down to the bottom of the page, you can see two links: Overview and the best hairdresser in Airway Heights. Let's take a look at the latter first. This links to the second page which is generated. Again, the search term is hairdresser, but this time the location is Airway Heights. Professional hairdresser in Airway Heights. All the shortcodes are replaced accordingly. Let's take a quick detour and look at the URL. The SEO page base is here, hairdressers, and it's the same for all pages we just generated. The last part of the URL is the unique combination of search term and location we set in the slug field. Let's take a look at the next page, the best hairdresser in Albany. The SEO page base is the same again, but the last part of the URL is unique, hairdresser in Albany. Let's scroll back down to the links we found before at the bottom of the text. The SEO Generator adds these to improve the internal link profile of the generated pages. To further improve the internal link profile, we have created an overview page. Let's take a look at the overview page now. As you can see, this lists all the pages with a brief excerpt of the content of those pages. The results are paginated, and we can of course click to those pages and we can get back to the overview. Let's head back to our SEO page, as we have not talked about all fields yet. You can simply edit the SEO page, get back to the admin area. The archive page title is used for the menu item when you want to add the overview page to one of your menus. Lastly, we have these two fields, the SEO title and the meta description. Enter the title tag and meta description for the head of your website. Leave empty to use the default WordPress title tag and meta description created by your theme and or SEO plugin if it supports SEO Generator. We can also enter these ourselves. Let's set the SEO title to the best search term in location. Please notice the use of the shortcodes with the square brackets. And for the meta description, we will use something simple like find a search term in location. Again, we used these shortcodes. Let's save our page. Let's look at a page that was updated. And let's view the source of the page. As you can see, the title has been updated based on our label we entered, the best search term in location. And now we also have a meta description, find a hairdresser in Aberdeen. Let's close this up and let's close this one and let's close this one and reload these with all the changes we made. Let's take a look at the settings next. In the settings, you can change the notation of the shortcodes if you so desire. But be sure to rewrite all shortcodes in the SEO pages you have already created, if you do. For instance, you can change the location shortcode to city and the locations shortcode to cities. Be sure to use these new shortcodes in your text, SEO, and slug and all other fields in your site. But let's leave them as they were. The previous, next and overview links added to the bottom of each SEO page can be disabled here. And you can disable the minimal styling the plugin comes with. And lastly, you can have the SEO Generator add a canonical tag to each page with a unique URL if you so desire. This can be the case if your SEO plugin does not support the SEO Generator yet. And now finally, you want to have all our pages indexed, of course, by Google. On the top sitemap, you can find a link to the sitemap generated by our plugin. Let's open it now. As you can see, the sitemap is an index file containing 3 sitemaps. This is very standard practice for sitemaps. As you might remember, we created 2168 pages. The first sub-sitemap has 1,000 URLs. The second sitemap has another 1,000 URLs. And the third sitemap has the last 168 URLs. To improve our chances of getting as many pages indexed as possible, each page has a unique last modified date, as you can see here. Now it's time to add the sitemap to the Search Console. Let's open a new tab and go to the Search Console. If you have not done so already, you first need to verify your website. I will enter the URL of my website here. And as I've already done some work before I recorded this video, the verification will succeed immediately. Otherwise, you might need to upload a HTML file yourself or follow one of the other verification methods offered by Google. Let's head over to the sitemaps. We can add the link to our sitemap here. If you don't remember the link of your sitemap anymore, you can simply find it in the settings page of our website. Simply copy the name of the index of the XML file and paste it in the sitemap field. Let's submit the sitemap. It says the sitemap was submitted successfully, but the status is still set to couldn't fetch. Don't worry. Google needs a little time to actually take a look at your sitemap. Usually, if you come back here after a few minutes, it should say success. I refresh the page and immediately it said success. Please be aware that it can take days or even weeks for Google to index your new pages, especially if you create tens and tens of thousands of pages at once. Depending on multiple factors, including your web server and website speed, Google will index a couple of hundred pages every few days. And don't worry if not all pages are indexed. If Google still indexes hundreds or even thousands of pages, we consider this a big win looking at the amount of effort we had to put in. Compare this to the amount of work needed to write thousands of unique pages individually. This would take months of your time. Let's play around with some of the settings to get a better feel of how everything ties together. Let's close the Search Console and our sitemap, and let's go back to our admin area. Let's edit the existing page again. We will update the SEO page base to our style lists, and we can update the slug to the best search term in location. This changes the URL of the existing pages to our style lists, the best search term in location. When we update the page, we can see these changes reflected in the generated URLs. Our style lists, the best hairdresser in Aberdeen. As you can see, everything is updated on the fly. The sitemap is also updated on the fly. We can remove certain search terms and locations. Let's say we remove all these. Now we only have 4 search terms and 4 locations. If we update the page, we now only have 16 URLs left. If you want, you can add as many SEO pages as you want. So let's add another. Let's set our title, our SEO page base. The slug is already pre-filled with a default value, which you can override anytime to anything you want. And let's add some dummy search terms and locations. When we publish the page, we see we have 3 times 4 is 12 URLs generated. A in 1, A in 2, A in 3, and so on. B, C. And of course we can add some text to the page to make it a little more complete. Let's scroll back up, update the page, and let's view the results. A in 1, A in 2. As you might have noticed, it said test for every title because we have not used the shortcodes in the title. Let's quickly fix this too. Let's change the title, update the page, and let's take a look again. Now it says for the title, test combined with the search term and location, just as we want. This about wraps it up. Hopefully this gives you a better understanding of how the SEO generator works. Have fun creating all those pages.